For our first group meeting, we all did some research on what we were going to discuss about energy literacy. After a 2-hour-long healthy argument, we had proposed varied ideas from transportation and food use in daily life to energy efficiency across different countries. We ultimately decided to make a combination of our ideas. We would each make a diary where we made a conscious green change in our lives and studied the trade-offs involved in making these changes by collecting data and recording personal observations. We mainly measure our lifestyle changes with 4 markers: electricity use, carbon footprint, cost, and time. Focusing on 6 topics from places and ways of working, screen time, exercising, transportation, and shopping green, we set the 26th and 27th of September as the days to remain the same, and the 28th and 29th of September to make our lifestyle change.
I'm Cara, and the change that I made was working in the library throughout the day instead of working at home. On average, when working in the library, I use 0.95 kilowatt hour less per day and save 0.39p across the day compared to when working at home. This translates to a weekly saving of £2.37 and £141.96 per year on average. These changes highlighted to me how making this small change to my daily life would have a significant economic benefits to myself. As highlighted on the slide, some other benefits of working in the library included the opportunity to work with others and knowledge share in the library. I found the majority of the benefits of the library were social elements, whereas the drawbacks were mostly environmental. For example, by working in the library, public transport was required to be taken, which contributes to the global emissions. These findings were mirrored in a paper by Beck and Henshaw 2022 in an Australian city showing that 702 people surveyed believed that the most beneficial factors to remote working was not having to commute, therefore reducing emissions, and having a more flexible working schedule. This study also compared pre- and post-COVID-19 levels. Due to the increase in remote working following the pandemic, congestion levels reduced from 80% increase in travel time to 30% at rush hour.
Hi, I'm Olga. The lifestyle change I made was reducing my phone screen time. I hypothesized that it would reduce my energy use and bill, reduce my impact on the environment, and improve my health. On my first block, I spent 12 hours on my phone and the next block 10 hours. I noticed that less screen time didn't always result in lower energy use, as some apps like Spotify with Bluetooth, Maps, and Instagram use more energy than others. Economically, my energy cost reduced by only 0.02p, which is insignificant. Environmentally, my change didn't make a dent, but if everyone in Edinburgh reduced their screen time like I did, we would have saved enough energy to power 208 fridges for one day. Social and health-wise, I felt better and had more time with people. Here's what I learned about energy. It costs little to power mobile phones for a year. You will have spent way more on a meal deal at Tesco. Secondly, while my individual change felt insignificant, collective change can make a difference. Now, how did the change impact me? Not so much economically and environmentally, but health and social-wise, yes. Numerous studies claim that excessive smartphone use is associated with health problems. Reducing my screen time meant that I filled my time with beautiful and relaxing activities like reading, playing the piano, and hiking. I had less headache, felt better and happier. I conclude that reducing phone screen time does result in less energy use generally, though the type of app does play a part where some use more energy than others. Secondly, while one person's reduction in screen time does not make much difference, that change multiplied across the population can be significant. Last but not least, there are other benefits to reducing phone use, like having better social life and health.
Imagine a simple change in your daily routine that benefits your health and the environment. I'm Katerina, and I switched from taking the bus to walking to school. My motivation was cutting my carbon footprint and improving my health. My residence is 2.27 kilometers away from the university, and my old routine involved hopping onto the Lothian hybrid bus each morning and afternoon. The path of my study required walking to school for 2 days, both going and coming back, covering about 5 kilometers each day. I did a little math to check the environmental impact of my choices. Walking produced 54 grams of CO2 per kilometer, while the bus emitted 198 grams. Here's what I pondered upon. Change is not always easy, but in a walkable city like Edinburgh, it's a breeze to start this shift. I now walk to school at least one way, and I'm thinking of making this change more permanent. However, there are trade-offs like tight schedules, unpredictable weather, or late hours. The big picture? Less reliance on public transport means a significant drop in CO2 emissions. If Edinburgh's entire population follows suit, we'd cut emissions by around 80 tons yearly compared to buses. While public transportation is a greener and energy-efficient choice compared to personal cars, walking takes the lead by emitting no direct emissions. It promotes well-being and contributes to reduce air pollution, and let's not forget, it's cost-free. So especially for short distances, walking emerges as the most beneficial and sustainable choice, both for individuals and the environment.
The lifestyle change I chose to implement was to try and shop greener. I looked to compare a basket bought on a budget with one focused on shopping local and another that cut out red meat. Both are often regarded as more environmentally friendly ways of shopping. In terms of cost, shopping local from butchers, fishmongers and the organic range for vegetables was significantly more expensive than the budget basket that involved much more freight transportation from countries like the Netherlands, Norway and Ireland. The difference in cost was a whopping £15.63. However, after conducting my research, it was apparent that the impact of freight transportation was almost negligible when compared to the emissions involved in the production of red meat. Data has shown that cutting out red meat for one meal per week would have the same effect as having a basket with 0 miles of transport. The final basket, which still included organic range vegetables and eggs, but substituted red meat for lentils and potatoes, was by far the greenest basket, and to my surprise, it was also the cheapest, and I could still enjoy poultry and fish. Economically, making this positive green change was beneficial, so my assumption of a cost barrier was misguided, and the real issue on a larger scale is a knowledge gap regarding the varied effects of our choices. The effective change was one predicated on my preferences and willingness to substitute red meat, and while I still enjoy beef, the impact of this simple change is so significant that I would be happy to continue making this choice going forward, though the people that I'm cooking for may need some convincing.
Hi, I'm Chloe, and now I'm going to start by introducing the related data of my topic, using electronic devices versus paper. Generally, I measure my lifestyle change with time, electricity use, and carbon footprint. According to the graph in the top right and bottom left, it's obvious that going paperless costs less electricity, which is 0.91 kilowatt-hour for this difference. As for carbon footprint, although it seems that using e-devices produces higher carbon footprint, that is not the case, because the largely hidden life cycle of electronic devices, from the production to its final consumption and disposal, adds up to their environmental impact. At the same time, the paper had potential to contribute to improving the overall carbon sheet by delaying emissions. As a result, it leads directly to my reflection, which is, to some extent, it is not about going paperless or not. What matters is how your product ends its life and the methods applied to minimize your environmental footprint. And how was I impacted by this little change? I had to say that although it is not easy to break the comfort zone and make changes, it definitely breaks the monotony and even greatly improves my selling efficiency. Regarding the trade-offs, I had to choose between such as unlimited digital access and no social media distraction. And also, the loss of tangibility is hard for me.
The next change that was made is running in the park instead of the gym. By running in the park, no electricity was required, therefore on average saved 0.42p. Some advantages of running in the gym include the opportunity to meet other people and more convenient, whereas in the park needs more preparation. Also, it may not be feasible to exercise outside in winter.
Personal energy and carbon emissions data are difficult to access, track and calculate, so we only report those we can justify, but it's still an estimate. If we choose a greener way, we will spend more time and be inconvenient. Habits are difficult to change and take a relatively long time. Regarding trade-offs, we need to consider cost and time, personal preference and environmental protection and convenience.
That's all our 6 little projects. Now to our discussion. What challenges can the society expect and what trade-offs might they need to consider in service of going green? On challenges, there are 4. Firstly, it is important that we measure our energy consumption, but data on energy is really hard to access, track and calculate. Case in point, here you will see we only reported what we feel confident enough to justify and omitted the rest. Secondly, going green sometimes means taking more time, like going to the library versus working at home. Thirdly, going green can be inconvenient and comfortable, like walking outside may not be suitable depending on weather and time of day. Fourth, behavior change is really difficult. It takes persistence and patience to change habits. Also, we have to note that individual change may not seem much, but collectively it can create impact. Now, we move on to trade-offs. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices in service of going green. The 4 top trade-offs society has to consider are, firstly, saving cost versus saving time, like taking bus, which is faster, versus walking but expensive. Secondly, doing things alone versus with others, like meeting new people in the gym versus working out alone in the park. Third, personal preference versus what's good for the environment, like choosing to eat sustainably versus eating what your family loves. Fourth, going green versus productivity and convenience, like using productivity apps on your phone or laptop versus using paper notes. Now, let's see of all the changes we made, which of these made the biggest savings. On this slide, left side, we have energy reduction per day in kilowatt hours. Based on this graph, walking versus taking public bus makes the most difference, followed by working out in the park versus gym, working in library versus home, taking paper notes, and reducing mobile phone use. Carbon emissions data was only available for walking versus public bus and paper note taking versus laptop, as shown. Energy data for food was too complex, so we omitted it. On the right is on cost. So choosing to walk in Edinburgh versus taking public bus offers the biggest savings, followed by choosing to go red meat free, then working out in the park, paper note taking, studying in library, and reducing mobile phone use. Do note that while Louis tried to shop local thinking that it will go green, it ended up being way more expensive. So that's something for you to consider. We hope this graph helps you to decide what green lifestyle changes are worth making right now and what's probably insignificant given the amount of trade-off that is required.
So in all, in making our individual green lifestyle changes, we each experience differing effects and trade-offs. By opting to walk, remote working, reducing screen time, exercising outdoors, changing working methods, and green shopping, we all found that making changes in our behaviour made a positive difference in our individual effect on the environment. And though they were often challenging, they were importantly sometimes beneficial as well.